My grandma asked me to plan her 80th birthday. I saved for months, designed invitations, and booked her favorite restaurant. The night before, my aunt canceled everything and moved it to her house, then told everyone I flaked last minute. I showed up anyway. No one spoke to me. My grandma just looked away. I went home and cried for hours. A week later, I got a card from her in the mail. Inside, one sentence, "I thought you'd do better." I never thought I'd get to the point where I'd go completely cold on my family, but here we are. It started with my grandma's 80th birthday. I'm not talking about just a regular birthday. This was supposed to be special. She raised me more than my own mom did. My mom was around, technically. She paid the bills, kept food in the house. But emotionally, checked out. She worked all the time and barely talked to me growing up. But my grandma, Sharon, was different. She taught me how to make soup from scratch, how to balance a checkbook, how to sew on a button. When I had a bad day, I'd go straight to her house. She'd pop a bag of popcorn, put on reruns of Murder, she wrote, and let me vent. No judgment. No advice unless I asked. So when her 80th came up, I wanted it to be something she'd never forget. I wanted her to feel celebrated. Seen. Thanked. I started planning 4 months out. Money was tight. I'm not poor, but I'm not flush either. I work at a small print shop in Centerville. It pays the bills. I drive a 10-year-old Honda, and I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. But I made it work. I cut out fast food. Stopped buying anything non-essential. I even picked up extra cleaning gigs on weekends. I booked a private dining room at Mario's Ristorante, the same Italian place my grandpa used to take grandma to on their anniversaries. They'd go every year until he passed away. I remembered that detail because she talked about it all the time. I knew it'd mean something to her. I made my own invitations. I used the shop's color printer after hours, picked out thick paper stock, even added a gold trim. I called her church friends, some of her old coworkers, people I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. Everyone said they were coming. I ordered her favorite lemon cake from a bakery on Main Street and arranged for them to deliver it fresh that afternoon. It was all set. Then 3 days before the party, Aunt Cheryl called. Now, let me explain something about Cheryl. She's always been, a lot, self-absorbed, loud, always fishing for compliments. She used to show up to holidays with her own food and brag about how clean her house was compared to some people. She didn't come to my high school graduation. Claimed she had a headache. But she loves to play the doting daughter when there's an audience. She called me out of the blue, acting casual. "Hey, I heard you're throwing something for Mom. That's cute. You need help?" I could bring my deviled eggs. People beg me to make them. I told her everything was already taken care of. Nicely. I wasn't rude. That must have bruised her ego. Because the night before the party, Friday at 6:30 p.m., I got a text from her. "Hey, Grandma wanted something more relaxed, so we moved the party to my house. Hope that's cool." Told everyone. Red heart, no explanation. No apology. Like I was an afterthought. Like my months of work didn't matter. I was shaking when I read it. I tried calling her. No answer. Called Grandma. Straight to voicemail. I texted both of them. Nothing. So I drove to Mario's the next day. Just in case. When I walked in, the room was empty. The long table I set up had 20 chairs, place cards I printed, candles lit. The lemon cake sat untouched on a cart in the corner. The staff gave me sympathetic looks. I stood there alone for almost 10 minutes. Then I drove across town to Cheryl's house. It was packed. I had to park 2 blocks away. I walked in. No one greeted me. Just turned and looked like I didn't belong. My grandma was on the couch, wearing a tiara that said 80 and fabulous. Cheryl had strung up banners, laid out store-bought cupcakes, played Frank Sinatra on a Bluetooth speaker. It was the kind of party that looked decent on Facebook, but had no soul. I walked over to my grandma. My stomach was in knots. "Hi, "Grandma," I said. She turned, looked at me. No smile. "Didn't think you'd show," she said, flatly. I wanted to say so many things. I wanted to tell her I planned everything, that I spent months preparing, that Cheryl stole it, lied, made me look like a no-show. But I didn't, because she didn't ask. She didn't seem to care. I left 5 minutes later. No one stopped me. No one said goodbye. That night, I cried harder than I had in years. It was the kind of cry where your body shakes, where your chest hurts, where you question if you imagined all the love you thought existed. A week later, I got a card in the mail. No decoration. Just my name on the envelope. Inside, one sentence: "I thought you'd do better." No love, no thanks. Just disappointment. And that's when something inside me snapped. That card sat on my kitchen table for 3 days before I touched it again. I'd look at it every time I walked by. Just that one sentence. "I thought you'd do better." It played on a loop in my mind. Each time I read it, it stung a little more. Like she wasn't just disappointed, I had failed her. And she believed it. But the worst part? She believed Cheryl. I didn't want revenge at first. Not really. I just wanted to explain, to clear things up. I thought maybe if I sent her pictures of the invitations, or the restaurant receipt, or even a video of me standing in the empty dining room, maybe then she'd see the truth. But I didn't send anything, because deep down, I realized something awful. She already knew. That's what made it unforgivable. Cheryl didn't pull this off alone. Grandma helped. Or at least, she let it happen. That's when the anger settled in. Cold, quiet anger. The kind that doesn't burn hot, but sharp. The kind that waits. So I stopped reaching out. No calls. No texts. I skipped Thanksgiving. Ignored Christmas. I posted nothing about the holidays. And they didn't notice. Or if they did, they didn't care enough to ask why. But I didn't just go dark. I started listening. I remembered something Cheryl once bragged about years ago, how she was managing Grandma's estate planning, so the house stays in the family. She loved saying that to make herself sound important. I figured she was still doing it. I also knew Cheryl ran a little side business reselling vintage collectibles online. Nothing huge, but Grandma had a house full of stuff. Old jewelry, antique dishes, rare porcelain dolls. Cheryl had always been sketchy with money, and Grandma trusted her too much. So I started digging. I got friendly with a neighbor of Grandma's I remembered from childhood, Miss Becky. Sweet lady, very chatty, a little lonely. She still walked her dog every morning past Grandma's house. I ran into her by accident on one of those walks and made small talk. Brought up how I hadn't seen much of the family lately. And boom, Miss Becky spilled. "Oh honey, they've been cleaning out that house every weekend." Said your grandma's downsizing. Cheryl's been hauling out boxes. My stomach turned. I thanked her, went home, and logged onto eBay. Sure enough, Cheryl had a store under her old Etsy username, Heirloom Hustle OH. Guess what she was selling? Grandma's vintage coin collection. Her Depression-era glassware. Stuff I knew had never been appraised. Stuff that wasn't hers to sell. I started documenting everything. Screenshots. Listings. Shipping receipts. Even tracked a few purchases to see where they were going. I built a file. Then I requested a copy of Grandma's property tax records. Guess what else I found? Cheryl's name was now co-listed on the house. That meant power of attorney. Or at least access. I didn't know how she pulled it off, but she had a grip on everything. Now I wasn't just angry, I was sick. This wasn't about a birthday anymore. This was about control. About erasing people and rewriting stories. So I decided to write my own. I started thinking like her. If Cheryl could use family for her own gain, so could I, but I'd do it smarter. Quieter. And I'd leave a trail she couldn't wiggle out of. The first thing I did was play dumb. I sent her a text. First one in months. "Hey, hope you're well. I've been meaning to ask, Grandma's still thinking about moving. She responded in 5 minutes. That's how I knew she was still smug, still feeling untouchable. Yeah, we're just trying to keep things simple. You know how cluttered she gets. LOL, I replied. Makes sense. I'd love to help out sometime. Just let me know. I still have some old photo albums she might want. She didn't even ask what albums. She just said, thanks, Han. I'll keep you posted. So now I was back in the loop. But I didn't show up. I waited. Instead, I started talking to people Grandma used to be close with. Quietly. I visited Pastor Dale from her old church. Asked how she was doing. Said I'd noticed some strange stuff and wasn't sure if Grandma was okay. Turns out, he had questions too. She canceled our visits, he said. Said she was too tired. But I ran into her at Kroger 2 days later with your aunt. She looked fine. Just confused. That word hit hard. Confused. It lined up with what Miss Becky had hinted at too. Your grandma's not as sharp lately. She repeats stories. Sometimes she calls me Nancy. I don't correct her. The more I heard, the more I realized something sickening. Cheryl wasn't just stealing money. She was controlling everything because Grandma wasn't in a state to stop her. And the family didn't care enough to see it. So I made a plan. I booked a consultation with a local elder care attorney, free 45-minute session. I showed him my file, the listings, the neighbor statements, the texts. I asked him what it would take to challenge a power of attorney if cognitive decline was suspected. He gave me a roadmap. It would take time, and money, and guts. But it was possible. I filed a petition for guardianship. Not because I wanted control. I wanted accountability. When Cheryl was served the papers, all hell broke loose. She called me in a rage. First time we'd spoken voice to voice in almost a year. How dare you go behind my back? You went behind mine, I said. Remember the restaurant? She screamed. Literally screamed. Then said, you don't understand what you've done. She's going to be humiliated. She deserves to know what you've been doing. Click. After that, I stopped answering. The court date was set 6 weeks out. I kept low. Didn't stir up drama. Just gathered more records. More receipts. Talked to more neighbors. And quietly, I visited Grandma. I brought lemon cake. She smiled, faintly. But I could tell something was off. She didn't remember that I planned her party. She remembered the cake, vaguely. But when I mentioned Mario's, she blinked like I was speaking a different language. It crushed me. But it also made something clear. She wasn't choosing Cheryl. She was being led. That changed everything. This wasn't just revenge now. It was war. The court hearing came faster than I expected. That morning, I didn't eat. I didn't sleep much the night before either. I just sat in the hallway outside the courtroom, holding my folder of printed screenshots, eBay listings, neighbor statements, and a typed-out summary of everything that had happened over the past year. Cheryl showed up in a peach-colored suit, acting like she was headed to brunch. Her lawyer was some slick guy from downtown, all smiles and handshakes. She didn't even look at me when she walked by. Grandma came with her, quiet, frail, and looking small in her wheelchair. Her eyes darted around like she was trying to recognize someone from a dream. When they called our case, I felt my heart pounding in my throat. I was calm on the outside. On the inside, I wanted to scream. I told the judge what had happened, the party, the lies, the way I was iced out. Then I showed the listings. Cheryl's online store. Items pulled straight from Grandma's living room. I played a voicemail from one of Grandma's neighbors who'd seen Cheryl loading up her car every weekend, like she was emptying a thrift store. Then came the medical statements. Grandma had early-stage dementia. It had been in her records for 8 months. Cheryl had access to the reports. She never told anyone. Never filed anything. Just kept acting like everything was normal while selling off pieces of her life. When the judge asked Cheryl's lawyer to explain, he said they were downsizing and that nothing inappropriate had occurred. Then I handed over my last piece. A typed email, sent from Cheryl to one of her buyers, saying, "We're clearing out my mom's things before she gets worse. Got a whole house of stuff to offload. Make me an offer." It was dated 3 months before the party. I watched Cheryl's face drop. The judge ruled in my favor. Temporary guardianship pending full evaluation. A freeze on the house. All assets reviewed. Cheryl was barred from managing Grandma's finances until further notice. It was quiet when we left the courtroom. Cheryl didn't say a word. She walked past me without looking. Her peach suit now looked too loud for the hallway. Grandma stared at me from the wheelchair as the nurse pushed her past. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. She just looked. I don't know what she saw in that moment, but I didn't cry. Not then. The real crying came weeks later, after I moved her into a clean, quiet assisted living home outside of town. After I had to pack up the house myself. Every drawer, every photo, every knickknack that meant something once. And I found something in the back of her closet, a box of my old birthday cards. Every single one I ever gave her. Going back 20 years. All labeled. All tied with a ribbon. She did love me. Once. She just didn't remember how. It took 6 more months to finalize the guardianship. The court appointed a financial advisor to help with the estate. The house was sold legally this time. Every dollar accounted for. Cheryl? She tried to fight it. Tried to claim she was just helping. But after the court order, her online store was shut down. She got slapped with a quiet IRS audit. And I sent every buyer from that eBay list a polite legal letter suggesting they return the items due to a pending estate theft case. Most of them did. The rest I didn't chase. I let it go. Cheryl's name is mud now. She's banned from Grandma's care plan. The family split into camps, half on her side, half not speaking to anyone. As for me, I didn't come out clean either. I lost trust. Lost time. Lost the image of who I thought my family was. And sometimes, I still wonder if I went too far. If I should have just let it be. But then I remember the restaurant. The empty chairs. The lemon cake that no one ate. And that card. I thought you'd do better. So I did. Better than she ever saw coming.